Some people seem born into the wrong time. They walk through crowded rooms feeling like ghosts. They sit at dinner tables full of chatter but hear nothing that feeds them. They look at the stars and feel something so big it has no name. These are the old souls, and if you clicked on this video, there is a good chance you are one of them. You have always felt different, not better, just different. Like everyone else got a manual for how to live and yours got lost in the mail. You watch people laugh at things that do not seem funny. You listen to conversations that feel like they miss the point entirely. You wonder how others move through life so lightly when you feel the weight of every single day. This is not about past lives. This is not about being special or chosen or mystical in some vague way. This is about a brain that works in a very specific pattern. A brain that cannot help but search for meaning in everything it touches. A brain that feels the weight of existence while others seem to float right over the surface of things. Being an old soul is both a gift and a burden. The gift is depth, the ability to see layers where others see only what is obvious, the ability to hear the silence between words, to feel the emotions that people try to hide, to sense the unspoken truths that hang in every room. The curse is that you cannot unsee any of it. You cannot unhear the questions that hum beneath every moment of every ordinary day. You watch the world move at a pace that feels frantic and shallow while you stay still. And sometimes late at night you wonder if you are the only one who notices how strange and beautiful and heartbreaking it all is. The tension between your inner world and the outer one never fully resolves. You live in two places at once, out there where things happen and in here where meaning lives. Most people seem comfortable in just one place. You have never had that luxury. Let us start with the brain itself, because this is not magic. This is not mysticism dressed up in pretty words. This is science, and it begins with something called the default mode network. Your brain has different networks. Some handle movement, some handle vision, some handle speech. But there is one network that lights up when you are not doing anything at all, when you stare out a window, when you lie in bed before sleep, when you sit in silence and let your mind wander wherever it wants to go. This is the default mode network. For most people, this network runs in the background. It hums along quietly like an air conditioner you stop noticing. It handles basic self-reflection and then moves on. But for deep thinkers and old souls, this network is not quiet at all. It is a storm, a constant churning of ideas and memories and possibilities. It never really rests. Even when you try to turn it off, it keeps going. This network weaves memory into imagination in ways you cannot control. It connects yesterday to tomorrow. It links a conversation you had last week to something your grandmother said when you were 7. It asks questions that have no answers, and then asks more questions about why there are no answers. This is why you can spend an hour lost in thought without moving a single muscle. This is why a song can take you back 20 years in a single note. This is why you feel so tired even when you have done nothing physical. Your brain is always working, always building bridges between ideas that seem unrelated, always searching for patterns that others do not even know exist. The default mode network in an old soul is like a search engine that never stops running. It is always looking for connections, always trying to make sense of the senseless, always asking what it all means. Research shows that people with highly active default mode networks tend to score higher on measures of creativity and insight. They make leaps that logical thinking alone cannot explain. They see solutions that others miss because they approach problems from unexpected angles. But this gift comes with a price. They also tend to experience more anxiety, more existential questioning, more of that feeling that something is missing even when everything seems fine on the surface. The price of a powerful thinking mind is that it never stops thinking. You cannot take a vacation from your own brain. You cannot tell it to be quiet for just 1 hour. It keeps running even when you beg it to stop. Now let us talk about silence, because old souls have a strange and intimate relationship with it that others rarely understand. Most people feel silence. They turn on the television the moment they walk through the door. They scroll through their phones whenever conversation lags. They talk about the weather because weather is safe and easy and requires nothing. Anything to avoid the emptiness. Anything to keep the quiet from creeping in. But old souls do the opposite. They seek silence like water in a desert. They need it the way others need noise. Without it, they start to feel their edges blur. Their thoughts become tangled. Their sense of self gets lost in the chaos of a world that never stops demanding attention. This is not because they hate people. It is not because they are cold or antisocial or broken in some way. It is because small talk drains them in ways they cannot always explain to people who have never felt it. When someone asks how your day was, they expect a simple answer. Fine, good, busy, nothing. 3 syllables, and then move on. But the old soul hears the question differently. They think about what the day actually meant, what they learned about themselves, what they felt in that strange moment at noon when the light hit the window in a certain way, how it all connects to the bigger picture of their life and who they are becoming. And by the time they have processed all of this, the conversation has already moved on to someone else. The moment has passed. They are left holding thoughts that no one wants to hear, so they choose silence, not as rejection, but as preservation, not as coldness, but as depth. In silence, they can finally hear their own thoughts without interruption. They can sort through the noise of the world and find the signal underneath. They can be fully present with themselves in a way that crowded parties and busy offices never allow. This is why they often come alive at night. When the world goes quiet and the demands fade, they finally feel free. The pressure to perform drops away. The social mask can come off. And in that darkness, they find a kind of home they have been searching for all day. Night belongs to the old soul. It always has. There is a word for what old souls do with their minds. Metacognition. It means thinking about thinking. Most people think. They have thoughts that come and go like clouds. But old souls do something different. They think about the fact that they are thinking. They step back from their own minds and watch them work like scientists observing a complex experiment in real time. This sounds simple, but it changes everything about how you experience life. When you can observe your own thoughts, you start to see patterns you never noticed before. You realize that the same fears come up again and again, wearing different masks. You notice that certain memories trigger certain emotions, no matter how many years have passed. You notice that your mind tells stories about yourself that may or may not be true. Stories you have repeated so many times you forgot you made them up. This ability to step back and watch is what gives old souls their strange wisdom. They understand themselves in ways that sometimes startles other people. They can predict their own reactions. They know which situations will drain them. They know which people will energize them. They have mapped the geography of their own mind, and they know where the mountains are and where the valleys hide. But the burden is exhaustion. When you are always watching yourself, you never fully rest. There is always a part of you standing guard, analyzing every word you say, evaluating every feeling you have. asking if what you just did was stupid, asking if what you are feeling is valid, asking if you are being the person you want to be or just playing a role. This is why old souls often feel like they are performing even when they are completely alone, because they are never quite alone. There is always that observer in the back of their mind taking notes and making judgments, the audience of one that never leaves. Some days this feels like a superpower. Other days it feels like a prison you built for yourself and cannot escape. Now we need to talk about something important. There is a difference between overthinking and deep thinking, and old souls often confuse them. Overthinking is worry dressed up as wisdom. It circles the same problems again and again. It catastrophizes. It imagines worst cases. It convinces you that thinking more will solve everything when really you are just wearing a groove in your mind. Deep thinking is different. Deep thinking does not circle. It dives. It goes beneath the surface of a question and keeps going. It asks not just what happened, but why it matters. Not just how you feel, but what that feeling reveals about being human. Old souls are capable of both, and they need to learn the difference. When you catch yourself circling, you are overthinking. Stop, move, do something physical, break the loop. But when you feel yourself sinking into a question that has no easy answer, you are deep thinking. Stay there. That is where the gold is. The existential lens is what makes old souls different from ordinary warriors. Warriors ask, what if something bad happens? Old souls ask, what does it all mean anyway? They look at a birthday party and think about time passing. They look at a funeral and think about what remains after we are gone. They look at a sunset and feel the strange mix of beauty and sadness that comes from knowing nothing lasts. This is not depression. This is depth. It is the ability to hold multiple truths at once, to love life and question it, to find meaning and doubt it, to be fully present while knowing that presence is temporary. Some philosophers call this the tragic sense of life. Not tragic because it is sad. Tragic because it is fleeting. Because the things we love will end. Because we are aware enough to know this and still choose to love anyway. Old souls carry this awareness like a weight on their shoulders, but also like a gift in their hands. Here is where it gets lonely, because old souls often feel like aliens who got dropped on the wrong planet and lost the map back home. The modern world rewards speed, productivity, efficiency, quick responses, hot takes, instant opinions delivered with total confidence. The person who hesitates gets left behind. The person who says I need to think about it gets seen as slow or unsure or somehow lacking. But old souls move slowly, not because they cannot move fast, but because fast feels wrong. It feels dishonest. They need time to process. They need space to reflect. By the time they have figured out how they truly feel about something, the world has already moved on to the next outrage and forgotten the last one ever existed. This creates a kind of social jet lag that never quite goes away. Old souls always feel one step behind the conversation, not because they are stupid, not because they lack intelligence, but because they refuse to rush. They refuse to pretend they have answers when they are still working on the questions. They refuse to fake certainty just to fit in with people who seem so sure of everything. And so, they often end up on the edges looking in, watching others connect easily and wondering why it seems so hard for them. Listening to conversations that feel shallow while craving something deeper, something real, something that actually matters. They feel alone in crowded rooms full of people who seem to have everything figured out. They smile at jokes that are not funny because that is what the moment requires. They nod along to opinions they find hollow because challenging them would take more energy than they have left. The loneliness of the inner life is real. It is the price of depth. When you experience the world so intensely, you need people who can meet you there. People who can handle the weight of real conversation. People who are not afraid of silence or sadness, or the big questions that have no answers. And those people are rare, so you wait, you hope, and sometimes in the dark hours, you wonder if the problem is you. If maybe you are just too much, too intense, too complicated, too everything. Let us talk about how old souls remember things, because their memory works in a way that sets them apart from almost everyone they know. Most people store memories like files in a cabinet. This happened on this date, then that happened. Names, dates, facts, bullet points, a list of events arranged in order. But old souls store memories differently. They store them like entire ecosystems, living, breathing worlds that never really end. A single moment contains everything. The weather of that day, the way the light fell through the window and made shadows on the floor, the feeling in their chest that had no name, the song that was playing in the background, the smell of coffee or rain or someone's perfume, the person they were back then and the person they were slowly becoming without knowing it. This is what researchers call depth processing. The brain takes in more information than average. It connects that information more richly. It builds webs instead of lists. The result is that memories feel alive in a way that is hard to explain to people who do not experience it. Memories are not just recalled, they are relived. This is why a song can bring tears without any warning. Why a smell can transport you back 20 years in half a second. Why you can feel homesick for a moment that happened decades ago. Homesick for a person you used to be. For a place that no longer exists except inside your mind. The downside is that pain sticks too. When you process deeply, you process everything. Good and bad. Joy and grief. Love and loss. You cannot choose to remember the beautiful parts and forget the rest. It all comes together. A package deal you never asked for. Old souls carry their past with them more heavily than others do. They cannot just move on the way people always tell them to. They have to work through. They have to honor what was before they can fully arrive at what is. And that takes time. More time than the world usually wants to give. But there is beauty in this too. Because when you remember so fully, you honor what has been. You do not let moments slip away into nothing. You keep them alive inside you. A library of feeling that grows richer and more complex with every passing year. A treasure that no one can take from you. Here is something that surprises people who only see the serious side. Many old souls are incredibly funny, not despite their depth, but because of it. The two are connected in ways that most people never realize. Think about what humor actually is. It is the ability to see the gap between how things are and how they should be. To notice the absurd hiding inside the ordinary. To point at the elephant in the room when everyone else pretends it is not there. To say out loud the thing that everyone is thinking but no one dares to speak. Old souls see these gaps constantly. They live inside them. They cannot help but notice when the emperor has no clothes. When the serious meeting is actually ridiculous. When the big important thing everyone is worried about is actually small and meaningless. And humor becomes a way to hold the weight of existence without being crushed by it. They laugh at the cosmic joke because the alternative is to cry. And sometimes, honestly, they do both at the same time. Laughing through tears at something that is both funny and heartbreaking. This is why the funniest people are often the saddest. why comedians tend to wrestle with darkness more than most, why the friend who makes everyone laugh at the party is often the one who feels most alone when the party ends. Humor is a bridge. It connects the heavy truth old souls see to the lighter world others inhabit. It lets them make contact without having to explain everything they feel. They make you laugh so you will stay close to them. They joke about the void so you will know they have seen it too. And when they find someone who laughs in the same unexpected places they do, something rare happens. They feel less alone. They feel understood. They feel like maybe they are not as strange as they always believed. So where does this leave the old soul? Always thinking, always feeling, always searching for meaning in a world that seems to have forgotten the question even exists. The path forward is not to think less. It is not to become shallow because shallow would be easier. It is not to pretend you are like everyone else when you know in your bones that you are not. The path is something different, something harder and simpler at the same time. The path is to find peace in presence. This is the great transition that every old soul must eventually make. From analyzing everything to death, to understanding that some things simply cannot be understood. From searching desperately for meaning to recognizing that meaning is made, not found. From running endlessly toward answers to learning how to sit quietly with questions that may never resolve. Old souls spend so much time living in their heads that they forget they have bodies. They forget that the sun on their skin is real and happening right now. That the breath in their lungs is not a concept but an event. That this moment right here in front of them is not a problem to be solved, but an experience to be lived and felt and honored. The wisdom they have been seeking their whole lives is not in more thinking. It is in less. Not less depth, because depth is who they are, but less grasping, less trying to figure everything out, less believing that understanding will somehow save them from the mystery. Because here is the secret old souls eventually discover. You cannot think your way to peace. You can only be your way there. Presence is not a concept to understand with your mind. It is a practice, a return, a coming home to the body you have been floating above for years. This does not mean abandoning depth. It means grounding it, letting your insights land in your bones instead of just your brain, feeling the truth of things instead of just thinking about them, being alive instead of just analyzing aliveness. The old soul who learns this becomes something powerful. They keep their depth but lose their suffering. They keep their questions but release the need for answers. They keep their sensitivity but it no longer wounds them. It guides them. And perhaps the greatest gift of all is this: the loneliness starts to fade. Because when you are fully present, you realize you are never really alone. You are part of everything. The same atoms that make the stars make you. The same patterns that shape galaxies shape your thoughts. You are not a stranger in a strange world. You are the world becoming aware of itself. That is what an old soul really is when you strip away all the mystical language. Not someone born in the wrong time, but someone who sees through time altogether. Someone who touches the eternal that hides inside every passing moment. Someone who senses that beneath all the noise and chaos and confusion, there is a stillness that nothing can disturb. A quiet that was there before you were born and will be there long after you are gone. If you are an old soul, know this. Know it in your bones and never forget it. You are not broken. You are not too much for this world. You are not too sensitive or too intense or too deep or too anything. You are exactly what the world needs more of right now. Someone who refuses to skim the surface when everyone else is content to float. Someone who asks the questions others are afraid to even think. Someone who knows that meaning matters even when meaning is impossibly hard to find. Your journey is not to become like everyone else. It never was. Your journey is to become fully and completely yourself. To take everything you see and feel and wonder about and turn it into presence. To be here now with all your depth and all your awareness and all your ancient questioning soul. To stop running from yourself and finally stand still. The world moves fast. Let it move. You were never meant to keep up with that pace. You were meant to go deep, to sink below the surface where treasures hide. And in that depth, you will find everything you have been searching for. Not out there in the noise, not in the future, not in the next book or the next insight or the next moment of understanding, but right here, in the breath you just took, in the heartbeat behind your ribs, in the simple miracle of being alive and knowing that you are alive. That is enough. That has always been enough. Welcome home.